every night, Monday through Friday in the evening for a couple of hours. We will give them the basics of playwriting. They take them through a series of exercises, all of which are building towards them writing a short piece of their own. We tell them it doesn't have to be a happy story and you don't have to please anybody else, but, and you could say all these things and that doesn't really register. Most of the time we're dealing with young men. These are young men who were in the wrong place at the wrong time at some point, and they got caught and they got locked up. They're not happy. They are resentful. They are distrustful of pretty much every adult that they have to deal with. And so when we come in, a bunch of goofy artists, they're like, yeah, well, whatever. And we're like, no.
Get rid of this stress.
If you don't think of this in any other way, think of this as a way for you to send a message to the world. I know playwrights who have learned our process and gone, oh my God, it just gets around writer's block. If you think of some story that you think is really important that you want to tell, and you start thinking back to what it was, well, so-and-so was there, and it was this day, and then this thing happened, and then my cousin was there too, and before you know it, you've gotten, well, was it this or was it that way, and you get all stuck. You get writer's block. You get confused. We're like, here's our easy way to get around that. You're going to make it, it's not going to be about you. It's going to be about, and I'll just pull something out of my pocket. It's going to be about matches. So we're going to write a story about matches. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give these matches a name. So we want to give them a name that reflects something about their character. So I'm going to say it's Shy. Shy, the box of matches. How old is Shy? Well, gosh, with most of the young people that we work with, Shy ends up being something the equivalent of 15, 16 years old. Happens a lot. I have examples of some things where the ages are different than that. And then we'll say to them, let's say it was an animal. If it was a fly, there are flies that live for one day. So if that fly was a teenager like you, that fly might be about, 6 hours old? But this is a box of matches. Well, how does a match count life? How does it count time? It's a box of matches and it's full. So it's a box of matches that has never been used. So it's a brand new box of matches. But maybe it's been around for a while and it's been wanting to light. I think one of the stories I have is of a match, never been lit, and what he wanted was to light a kid's birthday candle. Because when that candle gets blown out, that kid gets its wish. Weird stories these kids come up with. Now, we tell them they're going to tell their story, and then we tell them they got to write about a box of matches, or a book, or a bird, or whatever. How does that relate? Well, got to give it a name, got to give it an age, got to give it a family. And that was the thing that brought me here today. I have been doing this program for over 10 years. Family. If you think about what a family is, most of us will come up with a mother, maybe some siblings, maybe a grandma, some aunts, some uncles, some cousins. Did I miss anything?
Yeah.
It amazes me how many times we do these stories and I'm like, well, wait a minute, where's the dad? Ain't got none. No, you came from, box of matches came from someplace. Okay, it came from the factory, that's its mom. Well, who's its dad? Oh, the machine that made the matches. Okay, great. Well, what happened to the dad? He died. He left. He's gone. Hear it so many times. And, and it's funny because when I talk to people about the program, I will often talk about the young writers as knuckleheads. Most of the time we work with young men. Most of the time they are knuckleheads. They're, like I said, they are resentful, they are angry, and this person who has no power over them comes in and starts talking to them. They start lashing out. But I have all these little tricky questions like that one. Ain't got no dad? Well, where did it come from? And they will come up with something. Well, I will push them to come up with something. And so now we have a story about a broken machine, or a machine that went out of our character's life. That's a story about something. The other thing that happens is I'll say, okay, so this match has siblings. All of its brothers and sisters are inside. Oh, how many has it got? Well, it's got 3 brothers and a sister. Older or younger? They always know the answer to those questions, always. Because it doesn't matter that we're talking about a box of matches. They know that they want to tell the story about that time when their brother did this, or that time when they were left home having to take care of somebody. They know what story they're going to tell. By putting it in metaphor, it strips away all that detail that gets in your way and keeps you from telling your story. It also asks you to be a little more creative. Because like I said, with age, well, the other thing, and I got an example of a story, I think it's got some stuff in it. We tell them, if you're talking about, well, we're in this facility. You can't talk about certain things here. You can't talk about weapons. You can't talk about drugs. You can't talk about gangs. You can talk about religion. They are allowed that. And you got to be careful about your language. So you've got this bear, and he's got a honey problem. He's got a honey problem. So he's been jacking these beehives to get the honey he needs. And he's been doing it with his claws. So suddenly all those parts of the story that they want to get in, they can find that metaphor. They can help to fit that in. The other one we often do, and I'm just one of the many mentors that works in this program. We have a lead teacher, and the example he will say, well, if you want to get around that language thing, because if your character is just fuck this and motherfuck that and bitches and all these, people are going to check out. They're going to stop listening to you. But if your character's a pencil and he's upset about something and he says, oh, shavings, your audience is going to know what you're talking about. And those kids that pick up on that suddenly become very creative. And so you suddenly take this young person who is resentful and you put them into a position where they can start talking about and addressing the things that they want to say to the world and how they can bring that out. And that story that's just about a box of matches suddenly is their story. And it does say something that they need to say. So we go through a series of exercises. The first night we create a character. We create a monologue. And this is another thing I've learned through this process of working in juvie. That character has something, they create a whole character profile. It's the first night we teach them. Who that character is, family, where do they live? Where does that box of matches live? Well, it lives in an old man's pocket, and he gave up smoking, but he keeps the matches. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Who's that old man? What's that about? You start wondering about these things. After you give them that stuff, what is it this character wants? Something more than anything else. So in this situation, this one, I will say this box of matches wants to keep its brothers and sisters safe and has done an excellent job. But that old man is getting itchy. He's starting to get a nicotine fit. And he's worried about what's going to happen. That character has to have something that they want that's more important to them than anything. And we point out to them that there's not a book, a movie, a play, any story that they've ever seen where there's always a main character and they want something and they are moving through time towards that goal. And if it was just a simple story, a story we all know, Romeo and Juliet, if Romeo and Juliet is just about a guy who likes a girl and they get together and they go off and they live happily ever after, that was a really short story. There's usually some kind of conflict. Something gets in the way, and we tell them there are three types of obstacles. There's the interpersonal conflict. Somebody is getting in your way for some reason, and I'll come back to that one. There's the physical one. My character wants to protect that, and it can't stop somebody from opening it, so its physical ability to handle it is limited. That bear who wants to get some of that honey over on the other side of the river cannot swim. So that's a physical obstacle. The other one is inner. You have something inside you. So that bear maybe is just afraid of the water or afraid of the dark. And it's always funny. One of the things on our list in the character profile is the character has to have a greatest fear. Ain't afraid of nothing. Don't fear death. Boring character. That's the kind of character that you watch walk into death and die. And in a story, that isn't interesting to you. So give that character something that they're afraid of or something that they have to deal with, they have to struggle with. These young people, particularly these young men, really have an issue with this. And it's so funny. They wouldn't be where they are, most of them, if they had better tools for dealing with conflict and if they weren't so willing to get themselves in these situations. If they would start to go, I remember there was, I think it was on Dave Chappelle, they had, when Keeping It Real goes wrong. And it was the story of a young woman, and every choice she made was just the wrong choice till she's locked up, and then she's still keeping it real, and then somebody stabs her and she's dead. I often think about that when I'm dealing with these young men. It's like, you wouldn't be locked up here if you'd have made some other choices somewhere along the line. So let's exercise this. You are now God creating a story in a world, and you can help this character make the choices you want. If you want to tell a tragedy, a story where the character doesn't accomplish what they want or things go wrong, you can do that. You're God. You get to create that. On the other hand, if you want to show how if this character had just done this, things would have gone another way. So by the time we've gone through this whole process, we've given them a bunch of little tools. They've gotten to tell their story, and they get to go out in the world. Now, I said I'd come back to the conflict thing. The place that they have the biggest issue with dealing with these conflicts, and you just got a scholarship offer, but you've been lazy, you're 17, and you waited, and today's the day. It's got to be postmarked today, 5 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock. You're 17. You got to get Mama's signature. Mama says, oh, baby, I don't want you to go all the way down there. That's too far away. Why can't you just go to San Francisco State? Now, she's not hating on you, and she's not hating on your dream, but that's a conflict. And you have to convince her, and then we teach them about tactics. What are the different ways? Now, you might flatter her. That might work, but you probably wouldn't seduce your mother. You probably wouldn't threaten your mother. You might negotiate with your mother. And by going through this process, we teach them all these different things. So we walk out of the program going, okay, hopefully some of this will stick in your head and you will be able to go somewhere and use it. I hope. I pray. But I walk away going, I'm hearing all these stories and I'm hearing the same things that keep coming up. And I don't work in the system. I am a guest who gets to come in with an organization and work for 2 weeks with these kids. You people are professionals. How come these kids are all locked up? How come nobody is going back to the community and saying, hey, you know what the big issue, one of the biggest issues in this, one is that's consistent for all these kids, is there is in over 80, I would say 85% of the time, not a man or not a positive male role model in this kid's life, which means half the population is not doing its job to help these kids find the path that they need to be on. How come nobody's looking at that? Because if you did some programming to address that issue, just that one issue, I got a feeling this place would be empty. And when you talk to the people who work there about this, they all quickly go, oh yeah, they know about it. And I'm like, well, if you know, why aren't you doing anything? So that was what brought me here today, to be able to visit with you and talk about the program. The program is Home and Away, and I know you guys will say more about it, but the idea is what we've got now is a community, because the other thing is when we do our show, we do Monday through Friday, 2 weeks. Saturday, which would have been today, I actually was supposed to do a program today, and they got canceled because of activity in the unit. The families get to come, and the families get to see, and people come in, and there's this shyness and this embarrassment. And then they get to meet us, and we're all just so happy. One, it's our last day. We're about done. Two, we got the work done. So we're ready to show it off. And three, we brought a bunch of actors in who are going to make this look like something. So we're thrilled to meet them, and we're happy to meet them. And I find myself thinking, what if you people reached out to these people and let this community know that they have some support, and you helped them? These young men wouldn't be here. With the young women, a lot of it is similar. It goes down a different path, but it's still the same thing. I know the first program I ever went to was in a facility for the young women, and all these parents show up, and you're like, wow, a whole lot of women in the room. Where are the men? Where are the men? So hopefully programs like this will help us get a community that feels a little less embarrassed, a little less shy about this, and we can start talking about it some more. I don't know where we're at time-wise, so I did have a piece that I wanted to share, but I can hold it till later. How did you guys want to talk some about what the Home and Away is?
Let's see the piece. I'm here.
What?
Linda.
Yeah, I'd rather have the piece. Yeah.
You want to hear the piece first? Okay. Ian, can I drag you up here?
Let's have you finish, and then we'll have the panel introduced by Linda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an old colleague of mine, Ian Walker.
Hi.
And I'm throwing him into this so he doesn't know. What we would do is we'd have this piece, as this one is, I think, about 4 pages long, 4 or 5. And we bring in actors, they get 1 rehearsal, and then we do a sit-down read. So we don't tell you much about it. I'll read just the basic setup. This is stuff that is drawn from all the work that they've done in creating the character, and then you'll hear it. You have a preference of character? No. Okay. Well, why don't you be Benny?
Okay.
So the play is called The Fallout by Jeroman, and because these are young people, we don't usually give last names. Characters: Benny the Hawk, male, age 10. Kenny the Crow, male, age 8. The setting is in Gilman Park on the baseball field on a mild spring night. The time is 10 p.m. At Rise, Kenny is searching for his sweets. Benny sneaks up on Kenny.
What are you doing out so late?
Whoa, man! You scared!
You should be at home right now. I hope you're not doing what I think you were.
No, I'm just getting some air.
I knew you was out here pecking that dang sugar.
So what? I'm tired of you thinking you my father.
I'm your big cousin, and I know what's best for you. That sugar is gonna get you killed.
So, it ain't your life? You sound worse than that Mitch, the female dog.
You're talking like turning it into a sugar field.
No, I'm not. I could quit if I want to.
That's what they all say.
Well, I'm not them. I'm Kenny, not your flocking son.
I am your big cousin and not one of your flocking friends. Don't talk to me like that.
That's your problem now, Benny. You think you're the boss of everybody, always trying to run something. That's why your big brother is gone now. Don't know how to mind his business.
Ever bring my brother into this? I'm just gonna ignore that. And that is just the sugar talk.
No, it's the truth. That's why he's dead. Always want to feel like he's in charge of someone.
This isn't about him. It's about you. The choices you make. You'll end up dead or picked up by the bird catcher.
If that's where I'm going, well, flock it. Let me live my life.
I don't want to see you overdose on sugar cane. I can't lose another family member. Oh, come on, man. Right in front of me?
I'm not hiding it from you or anybody else. I love sugar cane.
And you sound like one of those fiends over there. And you're going to end up just like a seagull.
And you're going to end up like your dear-ass brother.
Well, before I do, I'm going to help you change and fix our flocks community.
Well, you just need to let everybody be. You starting to sound like Singy the bird. Remember what happened to him?
As long as I can help you before that day, that's fine. I just want you to leave that sugar alone. You just not yourself. You look at that crazy look in your face.
You just don't quit. You just need to leave me alone. Go catch a kitty cat.
You don't learn. When you end up in a box or in a bird cage, you're gonna wish you'd listened to me.
It is what it is.
I don't want to see you laying in the street. I can't lose another loved one. I just can't. I can't take that loss.
Everybody gotta go one day.
I can't get through to you. But at least I can say I tried. You're gonna end up like your father.
If that's what destiny got planned for me, then hey, Crockett. At least I could say I lived a fun life, unlike you, always worried about what other birds doing.
No, I tried. You're just gonna have to learn the hard way.
That's fine with me. At least I don't have to kill you. Just play it.
That's your problem. Everything is a joke.
If you say so. If that's the way you feel, just let it be.
Okay. You dead to me. As long as I live, don't ask me for anything or say a word to me. I love you, but this is gonna be best for both of us. I can focus on my goals. live your life.
And that sounds good. That's all right with me. Love you too, cuz. Always will. The end. Thank you.
So now we're going to go on to the panel. Thank you, Ian, as well.
I
And Linda will come up and be part of the panel and introduce the project. Linda Norton is a writer who is a very renowned author who has been a finalist in the LA Times Book Award and has written many books of poetry. And she was the one who was the conceived of this project. She got it all started. She contacted the Creative Work Fund and then asked me if we wanted to collaborate here at Peralta Hacienda with the public part of it. So she is doing the deep work of deep thematic work and writing, and the book will emerge out of her process. And we've collaborated with her on the public face of it, an exhibit inside the house that opens for our regular tour hours every single day, including today, that has been growing through community input. People have been creating works of art. And Linda actually held 4 residencies in the summer where people came, and it was pretty wild because we didn't know who was going to come any given day. So we got a great range of ages and a lot of spilled paint, but some really beautiful works of art that have come onto the wall there. And some people took beautiful ones away and wouldn't even leave it in the exhibit, but that's all right too because it's part of the experience. And then the other public aspect is this series of events we're having connected with the exhibit, and this is the first one. And so I really thank you for being the, I won't say guinea pigs for the first public event. I think it's a spectacular success. Thank you already.
They're guinea pigs.
And so now we're going to have a short panel, and I'm going to ask each of the participants, but first Linda's going to introduce the project, and then we'll have a short panel.
Yeah, so I've met these wonderful people before in this project, and there were a few other things that we did. We worked with the United